Hi, everybody. It is Kendell Lenice, and welcome to Kendell Lenice Live right here on YouTube. This is my YouTube channel, but before we get started, I need you to do me a favor and subscribe below. Subscribe, like, and share this video and all the videos that you see coming before and after this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so before we get started with this show, I just want to give a moment of silence because I would be seriously remiss if I did not acknowledge George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all the other names that we know and don't know. So it's my responsibility to say their names in acknowledgement of what's happening in the world today. Yes, we're still dealing with COVID-19. That's something in itself. But we are dealing with police brutality that is still running rampant in this country. So how would I be as a Black woman not to use my platform to bring awareness? Because when we bring awareness and we rally together, we really can make an impact and affect change. It's time for transformation. So I just want to take a moment before we get into this show about branding. Just give a moment of silence, just for a moment. Okay, thank you. And I just had some, I just want to make sure, see, it's so many names, and that's a whole other issue and other problem. It's so many names out there, but we do want justice. Again, for George Floyd, he was the latest one who was brutally murdered by police in Minneapolis. And Breonna Taylor, there's still not justice for her, and Ahmaud Arbery. Those are the latest names we know. Although we know there's so many more names that we don't know about. There's so many incidents that we have no idea about. So I just really want to, I could not start this show without speaking of that. And today's topic, I have one of my favorite people with me, Leroy McKenzie Jr. And we were scheduled to talk about branding, which we will talk about branding. But now there's so many different caveats to branding, especially dealing with what we're dealing with now. And how are you using your brand to affect change and to really speak up for what's right and to stand for what's right? All right, Leroy, welcome to Kendell Lenice Live. You already know how this goes. How are you, my brother?
I'm good. I'm doing awesome. How about yourself?
I'm good. We are ready. We got red on. We're ready to go, ain't we?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. So Leroy and I were talking right before the show, and it started getting into, I'm like, no, shush. I really want to talk about this on the show. So first, I just want to talk about branding. And I said, let me see what the definition of branding, what do they have? And it says branding is a way of identifying your business. It is how your customers recognize and experience your business. A strong brand is more than just a logo. It's reflected in everything from customer service style to staff uniforms, business cards, your premise to how you're marketing your material, your advertisement, your website. And I like to add, and what you stand for. Like, what are you representing? Because if you're an entrepreneur and this is your business, you are your brand and your brand is you. No matter if you're selling shoes, if you're selling speaking engagements, if you're selling books, if you're selling watches, whatever you're selling, if it's coming from you, people do business with who they like and trust. So whether you like it or not, you are your brand. So let's start there, Leroy. Let's talk about branding in that way. When you think about branding, what do you think about?
Well, I know for me, I think about three things, or I think about the main thing is how you mentioned it, how you define yourself in three. What are the three basic things that people think about when they think about you, your business, your brand? I'll give you a perfect example. For my company, J&F Enterprises, my brand is to enlighten, empower, and impact. That is to teach you something, to equip you with something, and then impact you to want to do something. Those are the foundational things that my brand has. Everything that is associated with J&F Enterprises has those three elements to it. Whatever it is, whether I'm speaking, like you mentioned, all those things, if I'm speaking, if it's my books, if it's the authors that I may publish, if it's an entrepreneur that I may be working with as far as their business is concerned and everything, it has to have those three foundational things, because that's what I want people to think about when they think about J&F Enterprises. They know that they're going to get they're going to get those three elements from anything that I do.
Right. That's perfect. And some of you may not know, but I am Kendell Lenice. This is Kendell Lenice Live, right? But I also go by the name of Lady Motivator. And within, whether I'm talking on the stage, whether I'm doing my podcast, whether I'm doing this, it's all about education, elevation, and entertainment. Because I believe that you can change lives through honesty, authenticity, and humor. You know, so I think that's important too, and that's part of my brand. That's who I am. Like Leroy said, whether I'm speaking, whether it's in my books, whether I'm life coaching, whether I'm doing this show, that's what you're going to get from me. And it's across the board because it's who I am and I'm conscious of who I am. So you're not going to see any twerk videos on my page. You're not going to see, you know what I mean? Certain things, you're not going to see me in there in a bikini. Although when I turn 50 next year, who knows? No, I'm just joking. But you're not.
You mean you ain't got a TikTok video? You ain't got one of them TikTok.
But you ain't got one of TikTok. But then it would be about empowering you and motivating you to say, you know what? Because, you know, this is one of my shirts, SOAR. So talking about strong, and then can you see it? Strong, original, authentic, and resilient. This says Lady Motivator Speaks here. But then I have my shirts, It's Never Too Late to Remix Your Life. Like that's really part of my brand. And I always say at any stage, age, or phase, it's never too late to remix your life. And then like with Leroy, well, I'll allow you to talk about, because it's certain things I want you to talk about, unstoppable. And I want you to talk about some of your branding techniques and how you brand yourself and how you started branding yourself. And again, if you were aware that you are branding yourself.
Well, yes, the answer to that last question, yes, I am aware, because it has been a very strategic thing for me, because I've learned, being in business, the importance of marketing, and then also the importance of branding yourself and your business, like you just talked about, and understanding that, having that foundational thing that we just talked about, and you build everything from that, like you talked about being the Lady Motivator. One of the things that I learned too was giving that moniker to yourself. Like with me, I have the moniker of the Impact Chaser, because my tagline is chase the impact, because when you chase the impact, you change the world. So those things that I do, when people see me, oh, he's somebody that wants to impact the world. He's chasing the impact, and the people that I associate, things that I do have to do with impacting. Now you mentioned the Be Unstoppable. That came from me having the mindset of, we all have obstacles that we're overcoming or that we're going to have to overcome. And I wanted to take on the mindset of, no matter what it is, no matter what you do, you have to have the mindset of being unstoppable. You are more than just the hashtag Be Unstoppable. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset that you take on. And when you take on that mindset, you have an understanding that, hey, I'm going to accomplish what it is that I'm setting out, whatever assignment it is that I'm setting out to accomplish. I'm going to defeat it. I'm going to accomplish it. I'm going to do what it is that I need to do. So I've created those things, and honestly, out of that product, I'm actually I'm able to develop other friends, other relationships, because that Be Unstoppable is not just for me. I've decided to work with fitness trainers, where I got with them, and it was like, I told them my concept. hey, I have a t-shirt that, hey, maybe we can work together. This becomes a part of your package that you have with your clients that that you have, because
Mm-hmm.
being a fitness trainer, people have to have a certain mindset when it comes to them getting healthy or being healthy and everything like that. So it works well with that, even with the entrepreneurs that I have. Having
Yeah.
that as a mindset, because you and I both know as entrepreneurs, you're going to come up against obstacles all the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
you have to have that mindset, that be unstoppable mindset. It's like, all right, I got knocked down. Let me dust myself off, take a minute, get myself together, straighten my back up, and let's go again. Let's keep going. Let's keep
Yeah.
it moving. So that's where
Yeah.
the importance of that and that branding concept, the branding piece comes from too.
Yeah, because the impact chaser, that's so true. That's really what you are. And I call you little Clarence Avon, my lightning strike. I call
Yeah,
you
I was telling
little
somebody that the other day. I was telling somebody that today or yesterday that y'all called me that.
yeah, because he is a connector. So
Yeah.
I definitely I would love to see you just put that connector somewhere in there,
Okay.
because you really are. And that really is part of your brand. It really
Mm.
is, because if they know Leroy McKenzie Jr., they know that he's connected. I guarantee you, I can go on your page right now and say 5 people, tell me who Leroy has connected you to in business. And I
Wow.
guarantee you will say somebody. I
Wow.
guarantee you. So you
And
definitely
it,
got to put that in there somewhere, the connector, because you
no,
really are.
I definitely will. I definitely will. And it's funny you say that, because I did an interview last week with uh, her name is Tori Rose, and I actually wish I could
Mhm.
have connected her with you sooner than, because the election is today. But
Yeah.
I did an interview with her last week, because I wanted to give her some exposure, just like I did anybody else that could have
Mm-hmm.
wanted to come on and everything like that. But I was talking to another business friend of mine who has a show, and Tori is an entrepreneur. She's a phenomenal woman, just like you, just like the other young lady, Joan. So I'm talking to Joan about her, telling her that I just done this interview. She said, "Oh, I'd like to talk to her, and she might be a good person to have on my show just before the election and everything like that." So she was down with it, and because Joan lives down in PG. So I was like, yeah. I said, let me I said I'll connect you all, and have her see, connect you all and see if she's able to come on the show and everything. And when yesterday Joan has her on the show to be able to talk about her, everything that she's got going on, the importance of voting, and all the things that she's trying to do with
Wow.
the becoming the city council person for District 7 and everything. So
In
that made me
Baltimore.
think about what you were doing about connecting people that otherwise might not have been connected, but they have some great things that were similar. Like I said, you all are phenomenal women doing some great things, entrepreneurs, got nonprofits, just everything going on with y'all. And it was just like to see them to do the interview, and then
Wow.
even learning more about each other as they did the interview. So now they've gotten this relationship out of that will hopefully breed and grow into even more things that they can do together as women and everything. So
See, but I think that that's so important. I really, really do. And that's what people don't realize and understand. And we did a show about networking and connecting one another in business. And hey, you do this, okay, I do this. We can all do this together. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And that's really what's important. So when you think about your brand, what do you want someone to see?
Well, I want them to actually see, um, like I said, I want them to see that that they're going to be able to get something, a product and service first and foremost, that is going to make them better after they either purchase the product or the service than they were before they had the product or service. Hopefully, they will receive and see um, a person, an individual that is genuine, that is caring, that wants to make a positive difference, not only forms, for the with his business, but also in and through the community that I'm a part of.
Yeah.
That they see that I'm honest, and that I have other people's interest at heart.
Yeah. And I think that they're seeing that with you. I truly do. And I'm not just saying that because you're one of my favorite people. Like, I really believe that. I see you. Even when, I might not, comment, which I do comment often or say something, I see, and a lot of people see. If they follow you, they'll see, part of that branding. Because that's the thing about branding. Branding is intentional, but it's also unintentional. Because it's really, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're selling yourself in a sense, about who you are, what you stand for. Because if you're talking about uplift the people, blah, 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 and that's all you talk about, then you say down with the people, down, and it's like, okay, it's conflicting. Like, what are you really standing for? So in the beginning of the show, we talked about George Floyd. My heart is just sick. Like, I haven't watched the full video. What I've seen was enough. I just could not do it because I'm the type of person that those images stay in my head. You know what I mean? And I already seen enough stills and part of the video that I don't see the whole thing. And, him calling for his mom, and it was just horrible. I mean, treating us like animals and less than. That's why it's so important that, people know that we matter. And it's sad that we have to protest and march to tell people we matter, because you would think that they know that. You get what I'm saying? Just from the humanity part of things. So when we talk about, a lot of people now are speaking out about their brands, and they're telling their white friends or other nationalities to be in solidarity, stand with us. Today, it's so important to let people know where you're coming from and what you stand for and what you're using your platform for. Or are you being socially responsible or racially responsible with what you do? Because I don't want to see your butt cheeks today or this week after this is happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see you like with the selfie. I don't want to see that now. This is the time, because as people, we're multi-layered, multi-dimensional. I need to see your passion for someone who looks like you and someone who doesn't look like you. It's so important. People are saying, oh yeah, like people who are Black and they have white friends or other nationalities, they're sending them texts telling them, I'm sorry, I stand with you. And a lot of them are challenging them to, hey, post it. Let people know that you're standing for this. And a lot of, white folks are doing it. A lot of, others, if you will, are doing it. People are. So it's just not us Black folks who are outraged. If you have a pulse or if you have any compassion just for a human being, if that did not move you in some capacity, something needs to be checked. Like your heart needs to be checked, your head needs to be checked just by doing that. So I say all of that to say a lot of people may or may not be posting because of their brand. They don't want to miss a check, or they don't want to look like they're radical, or they don't want to look like they support Black folks, whatever it is. How do you feel about that? And I know we talked about Kaepernick earlier. So how do you feel about that?
Well, here's the thing. George Floyd is not, like you said. I've refused to watch that whole video. I've seen just the little clips. And I didn't want to see the whole thing. My mindset doesn't want to go to watching a person. Not that this was just a Black man, a person's life being taken from them. On camera. I didn't want that. Didn't want the image and everything like that. But here's the thing. This whole thing is bigger than him. Like you said, this isn't a Black issue. This is a human issue. because you nailed it when you said you can't tell me that if you watch that video and the human side of you isn't affected. And like you said, if you are a human being and you watch that and you are compelled in any kind of way to feel something, to say something, or to want to do something, then yes, you do need to check your pulse, because there is something seriously wrong with you.
Right.
You know, to me, and I'm put it just like this, and I hope I don't get you in trouble for saying this, but
I don't care.
You are just as bad as that policeman who had his knee in that man's neck.
That's right.
Because if you don't feel that, then you are just like him, because he did not care.
That's right.
He didn't care.
Even when he knew that he could not breathe, even when people were yelling, stop, he could not breathe.
Right.
Even when George Floyd said, please,
right,
I cannot breathe. When he expressed that, when everybody around was expressing that, he still, where was he going to go? He was on the ground. So it's not like he was unruly. Even when they went to arrest him, he wasn't unruly. He was very compliant. So if you continue to do that, and you know that he is pretty much lifeless at this point, before he was died, he was really lifeless, and you're still doing that, what does that say about you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, to bring it to the branding piece, we can talk about the brand of police departments throughout this country. The brand, the brand of the police department is one of distrust. It is one of have no compassion, no compassion for those in certain neighborhoods. It is the brand of harshness and just overall brutality. So
but it's supposed to be protect and serve. That's supposed to be
right. That's supposed to be the brand. But if you were to ask now, depending on the neighborhood and the people that you ask about the protect and serve, they may say that. But just like on the other end of that, you get what I just said. There will be others that will tell you this is what the brand of the police department is. And that's not just one particular police department. This is across this country. You can go and you will get those same words, the same verbiage used to describe them. And why? Because of the various incidences or the various things that have happened. And that's what you have to think about when you think about your brand. You think about what are the things that you are known for.
Right. Without saying a word. Without saying, hey, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. Like, what is your brand saying without you saying a word?
Yep. Exactly.
By your actions. And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about the actions of the police officers are not protect and serve. The actions are, I don't care. I don't have compassion. I lack compassion for a certain zip code or group of people, you know, and it's happening. Like I mentioned, Breonna Taylor, we talked about Sandra Bland, you know, so even it's not just Black men, it's Black women too. I've seen videos where cops are dragging Black women by the hair, and I'm not talking about in the 50s. I'm talking about now. You know what I mean? Just throwing them. I saw a still of a picture with, I don't know if you saw this, the police was shooting, pointing the gun at a baby.
No.
On her parents' shoulders. Yeah, it's going around, you know, social media. Like, and I've seen them toss and throw. It's another one where white women, just like, you know, the freedom fighters back in the day, and on Selma, there were a lot of white people helping Black folks in many cases. And this one white lady was blocking, and she was pushing because a cop right in front of her, still as we're protesting against this, in the protest, police were still abusing people. Like
absolutely, yep.
It's crazy. But I see, you know, white people like banding together to kind of to a barricade or pushing or saying,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's not right, stop. You know it's a problem when the Amish come out.
What?
See that?
For real? You said, no, I haven't seen that. Wow.
The Amish were out with signs,
Wow.
singing and protesting. Somebody was
Get
joking like,
out.
they don't have a TV. How do they know?
You are so right. I mean, and
They
the
were out
Amish
there.
people, the Amish people are known as being the most, kind of docile,
Peaceful.
quiet, peaceful that you will out.
They were out there.
They don't bother nobody.
Right.
And so that
well, look.
that tells you just how deep this is.
Right. That's right.
It really does.
They were out there with their little signs, bless their hearts, and they were singing for justice, and I love that. And that's why I said it's a human issue. It's our lives that aren't mattering. It's the Black lives that don't matter. They don't think we matter. Right. But I love when I see white people who understand Black lives don't matter. And they say that. I was on TikTok today, and it was a white guy. And he said he lost 150,000, because he had millions, 150,000 followers.
Wow.
When he said Black lives matter. So then us Black folks, how we do. We like, you got another follower. Come on, you gonna get your followers back up.
Get them
back
up.
But now you have the right people, So let's talk about Kaepernick for a second. Mm-hmm. Because when Mike Brown was murdered, let's just call a thing like Iyanla says. Mm-hmm. That's when Kaepernick, who was making millions of dollars in the National Football League, decided to quietly protest on the sidelines by taking a knee. Silently. Wasn't causing a lot of commotion, just silently did that when the national anthem was played. He got so much flack and so much ridicule because he decided to exercise his right, later not playing for the NFL. He didn't care about his brand. He cared about humanity and what was right. So let's talk about him for a moment, Leroy. So when you...
No, go ahead. Ask
no. I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, here's my thing about Colin Kaepernick. I applaud him and the other ball players that were taking that did take a knee, because it was more than just him.
Yes.
But he was the main one that seemed that has gotten all the attention and everything.
The first one. Right.
And I think that he's one of very few athletes that took a stand for something that he believed in, and that he was compelled to do, because he was under no obligation to do it. And I think that he understood what the ramifications of him doing that would, could lead to, because he's not the first athlete to do it. I mean, because back in the 60s during the civil rights, you had Bill Russell, you had Jim Brown, you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali, all of those the greats that we know who took a stand as well. And that was at a even, deeper time back then than it was with Kaepernick. But Kaepernick taking a stand and understanding and saying, you know what, this isn't right, and something needs to be done about it. And I applaud him for using his platform to bring attention to it, because you have plenty of others who have that same platform
and use it for foolishness.
Who use it for foolishness, or who choose not to say anything at all about it.
And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. You're part of the problem if you don't voice because if you have a brand where people know you and recognize you, to me, you have an obligation. You have an obligation to speak up for what's wrong. Now, how you do it is up to you. Right. But I believe that you have an obligation.
Yeah, because I don't know if you were watching the other night, but I happened to see the news feed or whatever. But Don Lemon doing one of his broadcasts, they were talking about how he was putting
Tyler Perry.
He was putting folks on. he was putting folks on blast. And that's the thing. You have these people who have these major platforms, and like you said, who, because they feel that they've attained so much notoriety, and they've gotten to be so big that they don't want to ruin, or what they feel will ruin their brand or their names.
But it's happening in reverse. Do you notice? Right. Because they're not speaking out, because they're not taking a stand, they're getting dragged all over social media. So where they think they're protecting their brand, they're hurting their brand.
Now they're hurting it because they have chosen to sit on the sidelines. They've chosen to be quiet about something that we said, this isn't a Black issue. This is a human issue. You can't sit and watch that video. And let's be honest, any of the other videos that we've seen, because it was more than just this one video. Shoot, I know you and I can both remember, or you maybe not so much as me, but the Rodney King video.
Oh yes,
most of us that are old enough remember that video.
I'm only like 2 years younger than you.
Watching it, but you might not have paid attention. But you might not have paid that much attention to it. You know what I mean?
That it was no social media. So if you turned on a television,
right,
you couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That was like the first, not the first beating, but the first one that was caught on tape.
Right. You know, so
and they still got off.
When you right. And that's the thing that I think that people that I know most people are frustrated with. Not that these things aren't going to happen, because I told like a friend of mine when we did a live like a month ago or so, and we were talking about what happened to Ahmaud Arbery back then. And I said, it's a shame. I said, but he won't be the last one. And sure enough, here we are again. You know, here we are again, not just with George Floyd, but like you said, the young lady Breonna Taylor, in her house. In her bed, and winds up dead. You know what I'm saying? Just senseless stuff.
So it's like, you know that you can't even be in your house. You can't be eating Skittles. You can't have a hood on. You can't be driving. You can't walk down the street. You can't breathe, literally.
Right.
Without. You just can't be Black.
Having to worry about that. That is the next time that I leave out of my house gonna be my last time.
That's scary.
And that's no way for any human being to have to live. You know, and the sad part about it is that it's something that was very simple to be able to handle, and it didn't even have to get to people marching in the streets as they are all across the country, because here's the simple thing. I'll give it to people: hold people accountable. If you hold people accountable for what they do, then you don't have, none of this would have happened this last week. No, I promise you. I saw this post that said that thousands of people were arrested when all they had to do was arrest 4. Those 4 were arrested.
Because one got arrested. Wow. And still the 3 are still not arrested.
Right.
And like you said last week, all 4 of them.
Right. So, that becomes the issue, and that's why I know folks are probably sitting back now and they look at Colin Kaepernick, and he's looking like he was the smartest man in the world right about now.
Right.
Because of what he did.
Because
he's like, see, I told y'all.
Right. Right. No, that's so true. That's so true, Leroy. Because in the way that he did it, like, see, it doesn't matter if you stand up for yourself. Right. It doesn't matter if you're loud. It doesn't matter if you're soft. It doesn't matter if you don't say a word. Just the fact that you're standing up for people who look like us and 4 people who look like us.
Right.
It's a problem. It's like, oh, Black Lives Matter. Well, all lives matter.
Right,
We're not talking about y'all because this history already shows that y'all matter. So now we're saying we matter, Black Lives Matter, because people forgot. People don't know. People don't realize we're human. You get what I'm saying? So it's like all lives matter. Yes, all lives matter. All of us matter. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Black Lives Matter because y'all forgot or don't know or never known that our lives matter. Because when we're slain in the streets, clearly you don't think Black Lives Matter. Clearly.
They didn't forget. They don't care.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And I've said this and I'll keep saying it. They don't see us as human beings.
No.
And until that mindset is received in their minds that we are human beings, that will not change. And it's gotten to the point where folks are saying, the folks that want to say all lives matter, that's fine. You want to say all lives matters, but I don't see any of you being with a knee to your neck. I'll wait for you to show me. I'll wait for you to show me that happening to you. Then we can talk about all lives matter. But from what I'm seeing, I'm only seeing us to a pulp like Rodney King. I'm only seeing us getting shot in a car, Philando Castillo. I'm only seeing us being choked to death, Eric Garner. So when you can name me some folks that look like you that's happening to, then we can talk about all lives matter.
You better come on, Leroy. Better come on. That perfectly said. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you go. Continue.
No, but that's what everybody and we might get into the other thing. I don't know, but people that they want to throw that all lives matter in there to divert from the issue, from having to deal with the issue.
Yeah.
Because if you deal with the issue, then we won't have to say that Black Lives Matter or all lives matter.
Come on.
So
that, Leroy, perfectly said. Perfectly said. Because I'm here to tell you, my Black life and my Black brother and sisters' lives matter. Black lives matter. I'm not worried about all lives right now. Because like Leroy said, all lives don't have a knee to the neck. They're not pulled out of their cars. They're not slammed to the ground. You can go through history and look at when a white person is arrested and when a Black person is arrested, when a white person is stopped, when a Black person is stopped. You can look at the difference yourself. Like, this is not something that's new to us. Unfortunately, this is routine for us. White folks ain't scared when the cops pull them over. They're not scared. They're sitting there like, okay, officer, what do you need? I'm going to reach for this. Matter of fact, they don't even say I'm going to reach for this. They go reach for it. Black people have to say, I'm going in my glove compartment and I'm grabbing my this. I am taking my seatbelt off. We have to do play by play. And that may not even work. Because like you said, they don't see us as human.
I'm gonna hurt you real bad. I'm gonna hurt you real bad with this one. I don't know if it was Michigan or Wisconsin, but where the group of white people who were armed to the T with shotguns and everything else stormed the Capitol, stormed the State House. It was either the State House or whatever, the courthouse, whatever it was. And this happened not too long ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, fully armored white people. Mm-hmm. I mean, cussing the cops out and everything else. Not a person. I don't even think anybody was arrested. I don't think you sure enough know that nobody wasn't harmed or anything like that. I said, now what would have happened had take 10 or however many it was of the people that stormed this Capitol? Could you imagine us, 10, 15, 20 men, Black men, fully armored, storming a state capitol or a government building like they did?
Come on now, you already know. We wouldn't even make one step. We wouldn't have
Exactly.
made it to one step before we were shot in our backs.
Right. And
let's
so
keep it real.
that's one. And then the other one I saw yesterday, it was on my news feed. They had the picture of the young boy that killed those 9 people in the church down
Mm-mm.
in North Carolina,
I was
South
just
Carolina.
dealing. I was just getting ready to talk about him.
They had a picture of him that he killed 9 people, and they had a picture of George Floyd right next to each other, and it said 1 killed 9 people and was taken to Burger King, or they took him to get something to eat. The other had a knee in his neck and is dead. So, so you want to talk about what you just said, that all lives matter? Don't come to me with the all lives matter when we can see that there's definitely a distinction in the treatment, and the way that we get. And all of this, like you said, all of this, to bring it back to what we were talking about, branding, all of this has to do with the way that we as Black entrepreneurs see our government, when we have to deal with when we have to deal with the government when it comes to certain issues that apply to us as entrepreneurs. It goes to how we see the police department when there is just an altercation, if you will, because we could be a Black person driving in a nice ride,
Right.
driving in a nice ride. We have a nice home,
That you're
living in.
scared to do. You say, you know what?
Right.
I want to get a nice car, but I don't want to get that of a nice car. I don't want to get it too clean, too nice, too expensive, because then if I do, then I'm a target. So let me dim my light and not do what I really want to do, because
Right.
I don't want to get stopped. I'm afraid of my husband, my brother, my cousin, my male friends to get in a nice car. To
Right.
get in, not even, and it don't sad enough, it don't even have to be that, but it's just anything for us to not be profiled, which I don't think is never going to happen. We're never going to not be profiled because of who we are, just looking at us, and go ahead.
No, I mean, and all of that, like we said, that has to do, it deals with what we have to deal with when it comes to, I mean, and even branding itself, when we try to do business with, with certain companies or certain organizations, because of who we are, we're seen in a different way. A friend of mine, last week, she did it was really cool. She did a Facebook Live with Kendell. She did with 100 Black women attorneys. It was awesome to watch. She had 100
I
Black
know that.
women attorneys, and they talked. They
Wow.
discussed the different different things that they had encountered through them being attorneys. And they talked about, from the simplest thing of their hair, having to worry about how their hair looked, that it couldn't be too straight, it couldn't be too curly, their complexion, how they were seen in the courtroom. They had to worry about
Yeah,
what
because
particular
if you're a
colors.
darker skin, you look more of a threat. If you're a darker skin, don't
Right.
be big and black.
Right.
Let's just keep it real. Like, they think the browner your skin is, the more threat you are.
Well, we're not going to get into that here, but to certain people, you are. And I'll just say this: the book, The ISIS Papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, which is one of the greatest books that I've ever read, explains what you just said. Why the darker your skin is, the more of a threat they see. Believe that. That is so true. And you have to ask yourself, why is that so true? But they talked about just those things that they encountered as being Black women. I mean, and these were, a couple of them, of course, had their own law firms and everything like that. Some had worked for law firms and now had their own, but they talked about the treatment and how they got treated. And us as entrepreneurs, when we go into certain settings and trying to do business, trying to get certain clients, trying to get certain pieces of business, how they look at us, and how we could have a brand that is impeccable. We could be dressed right. We could say all the right things, do the right thing. But for that one factor of who we are, That's all that they see. They don't see the
Mm.
business person that you are. They don't see the brand that you've developed that has nothing to do with anything that you purposely designed so that you could do business with people, that you're about customer service,
Yeah.
that you have excellent customer service, that you do the things that you're supposed to do as an entrepreneur. But
Mm.
that very thing, and I don't know if you've experienced, but I've experienced it, where people would not do business with me simply because of the fact that I was a Christian. So even having the
Mm.
brand of being a
Mm-hmm.
Christian-based business, people see you in a
Yeah.
certain way. So
There's a lot of discrimination. Yeah.
your brand, people will see you and what your brand represents, and they may not be willing to do business with you. And
That's
that's
right.
something that
And
we have to accept.
see, right. And that's okay, because even with branding, you say people basing on religion and say, hey, I don't want to deal with the Christian. Hey, I don't want to deal with the Jewish person. Hey, I don't want to deal with the Muslim. Hey, I don't want to deal with dark skin, light skin, fat, short, tall. There's so many discriminations. But to me, God, whatever God has is going to be for you regardless. And nobody can get in the way of that. Even as we talk about branding, right? We talk about branding. We talk about why some people won't post. Like, it's all up and down my stuff. And I don't care who likes it, who doesn't. Lady Motivators, kumbaya, yes, love, everything that I stand for. But then I also don't stand for injustices. Since I was a little kid, I'm screaming and crying for the underdog. I'm sticking up for those who are, abused in that kind of way or beyond, because somebody got to care.
Yep.
Somebody got to care. And with your brand, if you're worried about your brand and not getting that next check, then if that's the most important thing for you and you honor money over people, then you got to deal with that, whatever you believe, because no matter what you're posting, God's going to provide and take care of you regardless. And now it's reverse. So the thing is reverse now. So if you're not posting, people are looking at you sideways. If you are black or white and you're saying all lives matter, people are looking at you sideways. You get what I'm saying? Like, you have to stand for something. I've seen a lot of white folks up and down the timeline, Ellen and everybody crying, and upset. And that's how you should be. Because I'm not going to get into history and how we built this country, how we built the White House, how we, but it starts from leadership and it starts from the top. And we know who's at the top right now. And we know, people are now, in 2020, by my daughter's college, they are passing out KKK pamphlets and KKK flyers and almost like application recruitments.
Right.
And my daughter goes to college there in Carroll County, Maryland. You know what I'm saying? So it's like now people are not hiding it, because they're not just wearing hoods, as we know. They're at the grocery store right with us. They're putting their knees in necks. They're there being complicit when things happen. They're the ones out protesting, putting the bricks on the ground and spray painting on the buildings, only to say, look at these coons, look at these animals, look at what they're doing. There are white folks out there doing it. And so many people have them on tape. They recorded them doing it, so they can just not to be there to support, but to be there to antagonize and almost demonize us. What do you think about, what's going on with the protesting? What do you think? Because all of the cities, even different countries, even the UK was out there, you have so many people donating, which I donated to the Minnesota protester fund. So, and so many lawyers, as you talked about, lawyers are doing it pro bono, getting folks out of jail. What do you think about the protesting? Because in Baltimore, they did it, and it was pretty peaceful. What do you think? Because we've already had our uprising here with Freddie Gray. Must we go on? I pulled up, and I pulled up so many names. I will be here for 2 days. naming all of these Black folks that the police murdered. Like, it's so many Black men and boys and women. So, but what do you think about, I mean, this is, and of course, this is a hot topic. This is a passionate topic. But what do you think about the protest?
Well, here's my take on it. Two things: the rioting and the looting. I ain't with at all. That's ridiculous. I don't, and that takes away from.
My daughter just texted, I'm sorry, right now at the Columbia Mall in Columbia, Maryland, they're doing a protest. They're doing protests.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what do you think?
But outside of the rioting and looting, the protesting, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm done with it. I tell folks this. I'm like, don't come talk to me about protesting, because I'm about answers. I get it. Mm-hmm. We can go back to before the civil rights movement of the 60s, and our parents are doing or did exactly what their probably grandchildren are out there doing right now, because that's their grandchildren out there right now. Their mm-hmm. grandchildren, maybe their great grandchildren. So the protesting, that's fine. You know, if you want to do that, that's cool. That's your thing. But I'm about solutions. Mm-hmm. Once you've finished walking in the streets, what's your plan?
Right.
What's your plan? Yeah. What is your plan? Yeah. Okay, because the protesting may get their attention, and the truth be told, they good with you protesting peacefully, coming and sitting and, like you said, kumbaya and
singing old Negro spirituals,
right, and doing all of that, because it's not doing anything. It's when you talk about we want change, when you mm-hmm. talk about not only let's go to the voting polls, but let's say, hey, here's what we want. Here's what we expect right here on this piece of paper. And we not only coming with the piece of paper, we're coming with the resources behind the piece of paper to get things done. Saying mm-hmm. to you that, hey, mm-hmm. we're tired of these DAs not prosecuting the policemen. We're tired mm-hmm. of the DAs going after us as the citizens doing things the right way, instead of you going after those who you need to be going after that are doing things wrong, and changing that, going after those judges who aren't, who are on the bench and who are letting policemen off, going after those state's attorneys, those mayors who aren't standing up and saying that we're not going to accept this, taking the fraternal order of police to task, mm-hmm. and understanding the power and leverage that they have, understanding mm-hmm. that in order for change to happen, there has to be some deep rooted change. It's just like how people, you chop a tree down, but you chop it off and you still have the stump there. Well, you still have the roots. The roots mm-hmm. are still in, unless you have literally got to dig that tree up by its roots.
That's right. And start all over.
And that's mm-hmm. what needs to happen. And the only way that happens is, and the folks have got me with talking about, well, the black agenda. Well, y'all talking all day about the black agenda. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear a plan that is put together that addresses these issues, that addresses the family, that addresses the educational system, that addresses the government that we're dealing with, that addresses our businesses as entrepreneurs, mm-hmm. what is available for us, and the church. Yeah. The church is the foundation of all of that, because it's the foundation of our community. So until you're ready to talk about all of those solutions, then the marching is not going to do anything.
Yeah, especially marching is not going to do anything, especially if you're out there to protest. And I'm not disregarding anybody out there protesting.
Right. Absolutely not. No.
Your heart. I mean, we probably, Leroy, you probably done it too. I've been out there before, but this is the thing. If after you protest, then you go home and sit on the couch and have a sandwich, then what is it all for? Right. Then what is it all for? So after the protest, are you going to a meeting? Are you trying to organize, re-strategize, stabilize, try to come up with different ways and different solutions? You know, like Leroy said, solution-based, because we have been marching for a long time, we have been protesting. Hear me, see me, we matter, Black folks matter, we matter, we are people too. We have been doing that. And like Leroy says, they know, but they act like they don't know. They act like we're not human beings. They don't want to recognize that, you know, and it just breaks my heart when I hear Black people say, because it ain't just white people, when Black people say all lives matter.
Right.
It breaks my heart because, like you said, Leroy, all lives, they don't have a knee to the neck. You know, I love that what you said. That's so true. They're not, like you talked about, Philando, all people aren't dragged out of their cars. So let me ask you as we wind down, and I definitely want to, you know, have you back on and talk some more about this. But as a Black man, seeing another Black man, it's almost gonna make me cry. A Black man seeing that happen to another Black man and knowing that next Black man could be you. What goes through your mind?
And honestly, that's the thing. Seeing, and like we just said, seeing George Floyd, seeing Ahmaud Arbery, seeing Eric Garner, seeing Philando Castillo, seeing Tamir Rice, seeing Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, all of them have. I can't help but see me. That could be me. That every time, and I had this conversation with a couple of friends of mine. This was last year sometime. We asked ourselves this. One of the brothers, he started it off by asking this question. He said, "What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see the police car and sirens go off in your rearview mirror, in your rearview mirror and your side mirror? What is the first thing that goes through your mind?" And it's a shame that, or not a shame, we should not have to have that kind of fear of worrying about, am I going to come away from this alive? That's what enters your head. It's like, what, you know, even in the folks that want to try and say, well, if you comply this, that, and we've seen that even if you do everything correctly, you comply, do everything like you were saying, officer, it ain't, and it's not even officer, I'm gonna reach into the glove compartment. It's officer, may I reach into the glove compartment?
Right.
You know, and that is just such a difficult place to be, where we shouldn't have to think in those terms. But I mean, just every time, like I said before, literally, you have the thought, when I leave the house today, is this going to be the last time? Will I return? And that's a compelling thought to have. And I don't know if there's any other race of men within that race that have to have that same thought. You know, so I mean, that's the only way that I can describe it, of how I feel seeing that happen, because the only thing I can say is that could be me. That could be me. And you just gave me that right, saying that right there. I'm gonna have to write a poem. That could be me.
I did. I know you saw what I wrote about. It's not okay. On right here channel. You know, it's not okay. And I did that in 2016. And I'm trying to think who it happened to then. It could have been Eric Garner. I can't even remember. Could have been Michael Brown. I don't even remember. That's crazy because I can't pinpoint it. It was somebody. It was somebody. It was somebody's Black child. It was somebody's Black parent. It was somebody's Black brother. And I wrote that. And then when I was listening to it, I said, let me go to my YouTube channel and find it. I posted it, like I said, in 2016. When I went back to listen to it, I'm like, it sounds like I'm talking about now. Just like when you go back earlier you're in, or you hear Malcolm X speak, or Martin, or whoever, or who else do I want to say? If you hear Maya Angelou speak, if you hear James Baldwin speak, it sounds like it's right now.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that, I was just, so you can hear the passion in my voice. And I'm listening to it now. I'm like, I could be talking about George Floyd. I could be talking about Ahmaud Arbery. I could be talking about Breonna Taylor. I could be talking about, you know, I can't even name all the names.
But
and I
that's
know
the thing. I mean, but that's the thing, because I know over the last weekend, especially this weekend, like Sunday, for some reason, Marvin Gaye's music came to mind.
And both of us.
And
both of us posted it.
I was listening to his music. I was listening to his What's Going On, Mercy, Mercy Me. And I'm just like, man, I'm like, has anything really changed? And like you just said, he was talking to us back then. He was talking to us right now, even back then. And it's just like, I even went back and listened to
like
several of Dr. King's speeches. I've listened to Malcolm X's speeches. Those, I mean, and they just ring so vividly right now. Ring so vividly because it seems as if we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And the definition, right, and that's the definition of insanity. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. It's that's not what it is. So right now it's time for a different result. And I'll say this to kind of bring us into the branding. If you want different results in your business and with your branding and your business, then you have to make sure that what the things that you do, if you feel it's not working and your brand isn't getting out there the way that you want it to, or you see that it's gotten out there the wrong way, you have to do things differently. You have to discover and understand those things about you. What are those core things, those 3 core things that you want to be known for? And everything has to point to them. It's just like what was that, the Temptations that had the one mic? Everything came back to that one. They all came back to that one mic. To the one mic.
They were like, look, they were
like, they all came back. Right back to that one mic. They came back to that one mic. And that's how you have to see your brand. Everything has to come back to, at the end of the day, you ask yourself that question. Anything that you do before you do it, how does it affect my brand?
Yeah. I love that. And it's so important as we here talk about branding. If you're just tuning in from here, go back and listen to the whole show. We are talking about branding. We were on task to talk about branding today, but because of all of the happenings and all of the injustice and the latest person, George Floyd, we kind of incorporated what's happening now within the brand, because there are so many people scared to post or are posting. And is it affecting their brand? Do you care if it affects your brand? Does it help your brand? Does it enhance it? Because now, whether we like it or not, it's kind of chic and in to talk about social justice and social issues and politics, and to talk about, because they don't want to just see you tap dance anymore and entertain. People want to know that you have a mind, that you have a heart, that you're filled with compassion, that you care about mankind. That's sexy now. That's the in thing now. You know, for some of us, it's always been that way, and it wasn't necessarily the in thing. You might have been ostracized for speaking your opinion or standing up for someone. But what do you think about that as we get ready to conclude? I want to leave you with the final words. I just want to ask you what you think about posting during this time, as far as your brand. And what advice would you give to someone who wants to post, but they're afraid that it will tarnish their brand? And then we're going to conclude with that.
Well, I would say this is you have to ask yourself this question when it comes to your business and your brand, is what do you stand for? What do you stand for? if you are somebody who wants to remain quiet and you don't want to, you don't want to ruffle people's feathers, or you're afraid of losing this client or this particular group of people because you spoke up about something that is a human issue, then hey, you take the consequences of not doing that. Just as those who are speaking up and who are saying, and I saw a friend of mine, he's like, look, I'm beyond worrying about what y'all think. I'm going to tell y'all this is how I feel about it. And for those of you that can't deal with this, or don't want to, deal with this, then we don't need your business. I don't want to be a partner with you, because obviously you don't have the same moral foundation that I have. You don't have the same mindset that I do when it comes to caring about people. So he was willing to say, you know what, all money ain't good money. I don't need to have that particular money.
Yeah.
Because I have something that's worth standing for.
Yeah.
I have something that I feel so much that I have the passion for, that I believe what I believe is right. So I'm not going to compromise that. And I'm not going to let my talent, my gifts, or the money overshadow my character and what I represent. So, I mean, that's what I would say to those individuals. If you don't want to post, don't post, but you take the consequences of not posting or not saying anything, being silent, because your silence is deafening.
A lot.
The silence is deafening. And here's something that Dr. King said in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. And he talked about the church. He talked about white people being silent in these times, and even black people. He said, those that are silent are even more dangerous than those who are committing the atrocities that we're watching, because your silence is compliance to what they're doing. So,
yeah, I'm just looking up. I just was looking at I'm looking at just the list, the list, the different cities and the different states, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
And folks are mad. Folks are angry. They're frustrated, and they feel as if they have no other consequence. And I look at it, like I said, we had Dr. King on one side and we had Malcolm X on the other side. We tried the peaceful way.
And we need both. We need both.
You do need both.
I'm sorry.
You certainly need both.
Malcolm sprinkled in there.
Kaepernick,
Malcolm gets a bad rap, but if you look, if you
Kaepernick said, I'm doing it the peaceful way. Kaepernick said, we tried it the peaceful way. I took a knee and y'all ostracized me. Now what are you going to do that you have this again?
Yes.
And what is going to happen? Because people aren't accepting doing nothing anymore.
Right.
It's not happening.
And just like Tupac says, I remember an interview that I watched live. It's of course now on it's all over with memes and all that. But I remember literally watching that. His birthday, he was born June 16th, 1971. I was born June 17th, 1971. So our birthdays are a day apart. And I always believed that he was sometimes misunderstood in a lot of things. Not to say he was not acting a fool. You got to think he was 25 and he passed away. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't who he would probably be now. But I remember in an interview, he said, it's just like asking for food if you're hungry. You're like, I'm hungry. I need some food. I'm hungry. I need some food. It's deaf's ear. And then you're like, I'm hungry. I need some food. I'm hungry. I need some food. Then you're still being ignored. Now you're like, I'm hungry. I need some food. I'm hungry. Now you're going to take it because you've asked quietly. You've asked politely and you weren't heard. And that's what, at the end of the day, we all want to be seen and we all want to be heard.
Exactly.
And it's just, I'm looking at it's just an amazement. But then you also, Martin Luther King's quote, Just talking about your friends, like, what are your friends doing?
Yep.
That's how you tell what's going on. How are you viewing them? Are they speaking up? So I challenge everybody to challenge their friends. If you have other Black friends who are saying all lives matter, if you have friends of other nationalities and races and that say all lives matter, I challenge you to have that conversation with them, to really get them to understand why we say Black lives matter. It doesn't mean that we don't care about yours, but everybody cares about yours.
Yep.
Let's just be real. But Black lives matter.
Absolutely.
What you got to say?
Absolutely.
End it. I thank you, Leroy, so much. You already know, we can go on and on and on with this conversation.
Exactly.
But you have been an amazing guest, and I'm glad that people are able to see you in this way too. Because with people, we're multifaceted, we're multi-layered, we're not all one way. And if you have a heart, if you have compassion, you are going to be passionate about this. You are going to be angry. You are going to be sad. You are going to shed some tears because point blank, face it, it's not right. It's not okay, and nobody wants to stand for that. People are out there with no mask on. We're still in COVID-19.
I know,
but
right?
That's how frustrated people are. They're like,
I know that's what I was saying. I'm like, folks just totally forgot about the COVID-19. It was like they like what is it? They just totally threw that out the window.
Right.
I mean, and that's amazing. But before you go, really quick, two things. Dr. King said this, and I guess if you want to end, you can end with this, and I'm gonna shut up. Dr. King said that the riots is the language of the unheard.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about, I say I'm hungry. I say I'm hungry. It's the same way that when a baby wants attention, what does it do? It cries. It'll start to cry. Why? Because it knows that that's the way that it's going to get your attention. And if as we get older into being little kids and babies, if our parents don't pay attention to us, we act out. We want to act a certain way. We do things to get their attention. Well, this is the way that folks have chosen to be able to get the attention of the government that we have here, to get the attention of the police departments, to get the attention of our government officials, because it seems to be we've tried to ask you nicely, we've tried to tell you nicely, we've tried to ask you, like you said, politely, but those voices have gone unheard. So now you're forced to dealing with this in the magnitude of what it is. Yeah. And the shameful part is we didn't have to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We shouldn't have to be here. You and I shouldn't even have to be having this conversation in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
We really shouldn't.
Right. And unfortunately, we are. So again, Leroy, I thank you so much for joining me today on this branding topic. We definitely still stayed on task, but we would have been remiss not to talk about what's happening with our people. I could not be a responsible human being and not talk about it, because this show is about education, elevation, and entertainment. It's not about fluff and drama and gossip. It's about real issues, talking to real people, and seeing people. I'm going to leave with a quote from Malcolm X. I'm for truth, no matter who tells it. I'm for justice, no matter who it's for or against. Truth is on the side of the oppressed. Absolutely. So we need to start pulling that blanket back and start sharing the truth. I wish everyone well out there. I want you to be safe. I want you to be safe not only from COVID-19 and be responsible and social distance yourself, but I also want you to be safe. It's sad to say, while you're walking, talking, standing, driving, breathing. Be careful. I love you all. I love you all. And I just want everybody to be safe. Do your part. Play your part. If you don't want to go out there and protest, donate. If you don't have the money to donate money, donate your time. If you don't have time, post. and watch what you post and be strategic about what you post. Because even if you're not in business, you're still a brand, and that brand is you, and you got to stand for something. Thank you so much for tuning into Kendell Lenice Live right here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much, Leroy. Until
Absolutely.
next time.
Thank you.
Yes. Until next time, everybody, God bless. Peace. Be safe.